Since I'll be on. Yeah. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome. I'm glad you could make it to training. Father Phil and I and others have been talking about this for a while, that we want to get everybody on the same page. And there's some changes from the way we've done things in the past, so we wanted to let everybody know exactly what we were doing, so I appreciate it. This will be on tape if you ever need to go back and refresh, or people who aren't here can see it. So I will turn it over to Father Phil, and he can lead us all in what's going on. Thanks.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be here this morning, and I think we should open in prayer. The Lord be with you. And also with you. Let us pray. God, you show up for us in many ways in our lives, and you help us to follow your path through many, many means. One of those is through the formation we receive in liturgy. Liturgy is in many ways your gift to us, a gift revealing the pattern of your love and the path by which we should walk through the world, a path that we practice here on Sundays and whenever we come together in worship, a path that helps us to navigate the difficult terrain that we sometimes encounter when we lose those we love, when we experience big questions that are hard to answer. God, I thank you for all the ministers of St. Anne who show up faithfully each week to serve in the liturgy and to help us learn the steps of walking this path together. Please guide our time this morning and guide our service together as a liturgical team, that in all we do, we might help share with the rest of the congregation and the community the signs of your love and your presence in our midst. And we pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. So, liturgy is always a work in progress, I suppose. And I think most of the stuff we're going to talk about this morning, there's no big reveal here, some shocking change that's being announced. A lot of it we've already kind of been trying to test out or do a bit piecemeal, but the sense, as Steve said, was that it would be helpful for as many of us as possible to just get together and sort of talk it out, answer any questions that you have, raise any concerns, but kind of go through the changes that I had in mind. And then even, if anyone's feeling energetic or brave enough, get up and we can do a little role play, if you will, just to make sure, because with liturgy it's all about getting our bodies into the rhythm along with our heads and our minds and our hearts. So we can maybe try that, just so we have some visual examples in practice, and that would also help folks who are watching this after the fact or joining us later. So first of all, I think I would like to two things. The document that I've passed out to you is sort of a collection of notes about some of these things are not changes, but I'm trying to note maybe where there might be some changes. So we're going to work our way through this document, which basically takes us through a standard Eucharistic liturgy. But if you have any questions or what about this or whatever as we move through it, certainly I could have missed something, and I certainly want to know about that. We can edit this document or update it as needed based on our time together today. But I think that my main hope is that if we're all on the same page and knowing what the sort of intention is behind the different pieces that are being changed or tweaked slightly, that we'll just, the whole idea is that we flow together as one, as the servers at the altar, so that we are not essentially sort of, creating a distraction for all of our siblings who are out in worship. The more that we just look like we're just flowing together easily, the more we just sort of become part of this whole pattern of the liturgy, and I think that helps all of us really inhabit the spirit of the moment in a really lovely way. So this is not about perfection, this is not about rigidity, this is more about us just all moving and understanding what we're doing together. I just want to open with that note. So let's talk through, and then maybe we'll try some, if we need to, try some sort of demonstrations or things. The entrance procession, there's no real change in terms of the order and the way in which we enter. I think oh, please. Yeah, yes. Yes, no change to the bells. I think that's a perfectly fine St. Anne custom, and it helps people understand the cue. Anne? Yes, no change to those. So I can, if it's helpful, I'll just add a note in there about those, but there's no change to those. Thank you. The question was, first of all, about ringing the bells. The verger usually rings the bells first to initiate the prelude, and then again to indicate for it's time for folks to stand up for the processional hymn. So yes, no change to that practice. And the timing, as we all know, is about 2 or 3 minutes before the hour to initiate the prelude, and then. That's a good time for the 11. That's a good time. Yeah. Make sure she's in her seat. We try to make eye contact with the praise band. Do a little look and make sure everyone's in place. That's our hope. But yes, so we keep that. And then the second question was about lighting the candles, the altar candles. No change to that practice. They're lit by the crucifer about 10-15 minutes prior to the service, once you're vested, and you go out and light those candles. So no change to that. In terms of symbolism, the only preference I would keep, hi Susie, the only thing I would say, maybe some of you have heard of the idea that you don't light the gospel candle first. Yeah, you don't. Yeah, exactly. That's the old saw. I mean, it's not like No, but it's right, of course, and that's true with a lot of these things. No one's gonna know. Like if we flub something or something goes awry, okay, that's fine. But the gift of intentionality is what we bring to what we do as servers at the altar. So even if we're never going to get it exactly perfect, because life is life and we're human beings, if we're still trying, we choose to do these things, so we bring intentionality to our actions. So I would still encourage us to try to be thoughtful about some of these customs and practices. But yeah, if it goes sideways, so be it. Thanks. Yes, Bernie. Does everyone know which side is the gospel side? Mm-hmm. Gospel side. Yeah. Left or right? What's that? Left. Yeah. The epistle side's over here and the gospel side's over here. Yeah. So just light, I think your pattern, I'm not usually out here to watch you. What's that? Are you usually doing it in a line? Is that what you're doing, crucifers? Just in a line? So you could come out with your lighter and just work your way across, essentially. Right to left, because then you have your. So this is essentially our gospel candle, right? So if we're lighting from right to left, we're lighting, so that these are already lit while this one is lit. And then if we're extinguishing this way, then it's extinguished before these are. Does that make sense? So just, you Frankie, yeah. 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 The one on the altar is the one we think of technically as the gospel candle because the torches aren't always, it's because it depends on the parish, but the torches aren't always necessarily there or used in the same way. So the torches, you know, if we had people processing, these wouldn't be up here before the service starts. So when we're thinking about sort of the altar candles, we're primarily thinking about the two sitting on the altar.
So we used to have, we used to have 8 or 9 candles on each side behind. Put them out, light them that way, and then put them out. We never let the gospel candles be alone.
Oh, sure. Yeah. But we don't have those candles now, so it's not a worry. Bernie, yeah. What's that? Correct. Yep, exactly. Exactly. That's why we're saying, if you want to follow that pattern, you would light, 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 and then at the end of the service, you would snuff, 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 snuff. Okay? This? I mean, this is the gospel side and the epistle side, but that one? No, you're talking about this one, gospel candle. It's really, this is the gospel side and the epistle side. So it's if you're like, why on earth is it called this? What's going on? It's based on the historical arrangement of the way that naves of churches were set up. So the pulpit from which the gospel was preached, basically, was over here. And then the ambo, the lectern, from which the readings were done, is over there. Now, obviously, in a lot of contemporary churches like ours, we just do it all from one place. So the symbolism gets a little bit muddled depending on the liturgical space. But that's why, traditionally, this is the gospel candle, because it's on the side of the pulpit where the sermon was preached. If you go to like an old cathedral or, you know, some big sort of Gothic cathedral space, you have the two separate places where the liturgy of the word is done. Yep. So for lighting, are we clear on lighting patterns? Great. I will add that to our notes. So now the candles are lit. We are, this is a small change, I'll probably add this as well. We are gathering in the narthex to pray together, not in the sacristy. I think that's a slight change from before I was here. So ideally, we're gathering in the narthex. So once you're vested and the candles are lit, just go back to the narthex, and that's where we would get together as an altar party to say a prayer. At the 11, we pray with the choir, of course. So that's where we get together, and then we do our ringing of the bells before the prelude, and then the processional hymn, and then we go in order. Now, this order hasn't changed. I just put it there so that we have it listed. We don't have a deacon at present, but they would follow the verger if we have them in the service. Then the guest preacher, then the presider or the priest, rather, and then the bishop if they are here. Here, Tom. Thanks. The main point that I have here in the second bullet is just to be sure we're all clear that if you are serving as crucifer, whether it's at 9 or 11, this is especially true at 11, Julie will often, for that processional hymn, there's an instrumental, sort of just on the organ or piano, an introduction. So it's just music. It's before the choir actually starts singing the words to the hymn. While it's just musical, the crucifer stays in place. So the movement of the crucifer, the procession, only starts when we start singing words. Does that make sense? It's for a whole host of reasons, especially if there's a really, like if it's a bit of a longer hymn, it's just best for us to hold back a bit so that we're not already basically here by the time the singing starts. So if we're sort of processing in and the choir is processing in, but the instrumental intro is so long, like they're just like processing in silently, walking down the middle aisle, and that's awkward. We don't want that. So that's incumbent on our crucifers to just wait until the singing starts, and once you hear voices, then you walk. Fairly straightforward. So that's an important note. Then this. Yes, Frankie, please. Okay. Okay. Good. Just start singing. Just start singing when it's time to start singing. Yeah.
When Kathy was the choir director, she
Okay.
wanted everybody in the building before they started singing. That's why we organized the prelude. It wasn't until I came here that Kathy said, no, start with the music. Start with the music.
Yeah, we will, whether you're in the narthex or whether you're here, start when it's time to start singing. It will be fine. Bill? Yeah, I'm not overly concerned about that. That's fine. I'm sure. Yep. Yeah, that's not a concern, I would say. I would say choirs start singing when it's time to start singing the hymn. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So this next bullet point is one that's I think a bit of my understanding. This was a change from when I showed up in terms of how I was asking us to reverence the altar as the altar party. So let's just talk through this for a minute. So we're coming forward in that procession. The crucifers, you know what you're doing. You get to the top of the step, you pause, and then you turn and place your cross in the stand, and you stand at your seat. So the crucifer, I think, is a pretty straightforward role in that moment. But and I think we're generally fine, but I want to make sure we're clear on how we are lining up. So when the rest of the altar party, so generally that would be the chalices, the verger, and myself, we're coming in, and the chalices are in front. And then we have the verger, and then we have the priest. And so we're coming up the stairs, and as it says in the notes, the idea would be that the chalices, as you get here, you would sort of veer a bit to your right. And the verger, as they come up, because they have to put the gospel book down in the stand, they would veer to the left and put the gospel book in the stand, and then you all would leave a little space right here-ish for me to step in and join you in line. That's the key. Leave a little space for your poor priest to squeeze in with you. Please don't forget me. I'm back there too. out of sight, out of mind. I get it. I'm like, you can't see me. It's fine. And then this is a note I wanted to bring up today, and this is again for just that elegance and uniformity of movement. When we have all lined up, and I have joined you in my little slot, just wait for me to initiate the bow to the altar. The reason I say that is because if I'm like wiggling my way in to be there next to you, there are moments when I think you sort of, maybe someone sees me out of the corner of their eye and it's like, oh, okay, I guess we're all here. And then someone kind of bows and then the rest of us bow and it's like, and it's a little, so, right, yeah. So let's. I think my hope is that we would all get there. I would slide into my little spot next to you, and then just kind of, we can kind of see each other, hopefully in our peripheral vision, and we just wait for me to initiate the bow so that we're all bowing in unison. If that helps you practice, Wendy, that's great. But yeah. So for fun, can I have some volunteers? And we'll try. Okay, I need a verger, I need 2 chalices, and me. Okay, so in this role play, we have, oh good, okay, we have Wendy as a chalice, Frankie's a chalice, Bernie's a verger. We're gonna add some real fun to this one. Greg's gonna be our guest preacher. We're going to add another one into the mix. So, yeah. Okay, so we're moving along. The crucifer has done their part. So we're coming up. Chalices move to the side. Bernie places the book. The preacher moves to that side. Perfect. I join you. Yes.
What line do you want?
I want us to stand on the far side of this thing.
Okay, all right.
I realize like at Christmas or Easter where the flowers are coming out, that's going to have to look a little different, but generally speaking,
Okay, on the inside.
come just to the inside of it. Just to the inside. Okay, so I've joined you and then boom.
Close enough.
And then we turn as one line and we go to our seats. Yeah, if you're in the back.
This is something I find awkward.
Please.
I don't like walking in front of you in the chair. When you have walked over to the chair
So if you're behind me,
and if you're the guest preacher, you're there. I just find
you don't like crossing in front of me?
No, I don't. I would find that very awkward. But is that okay?
You find it awkward as well? Interesting. It doesn't strike me as awkward, but
I know, but I don't know. I just think every time I should never be crossing in front of the priest,
what if-
the presider, if at all possible. That's not an issue, people?
I mean,
just
you're going to have to anyway, like when you get up to do the prayers of the people,
Right.
or what, when you get up to do the gospel procession,
Right.
you have to cross in front of me. I really truly don't think that's
not really. Okay,
a concern.
so whoever-
Sorry, Ed. Yeah.
Put the verger here.
Yes, but then this person would have to cross in front of me. This is just a space. It's just a spatial reality. I think someone's going to have to cross in front of me, and that's fine.
I know the verger is supposed to help out with
Yes.
any acolytes or whatever.
That's right.
So the verger almost should be here.
Right. So how do we feel about the little bowing, reverencing moment? Are we happy with that? Yes. Bill has a question. Thank you, volunteers. Yep. Yes. Unless the bishop's here.
There's no guest preacher, is the verger always going to be on the inside?
Yes.
Chalices to the outside?
That's correct. So I have that in here. So yes, thank you, Bill. We will talk about that. In fact, it's our very next section, seating. Yes. The verger and the priest are always fixed unless the bishop comes and then it's different. Yeah, exactly. So, yep, I'm going to show you now. So, correct. So seating, this is the next section in your notes. As you know, and again, I know this is varied in the past, but I have taken on the custom of sitting in the middle seat. So this is where I sit, again, unless the bishop is present, and on those rare occasions, she will sit in this seat, and things will look a lot different in all kinds of ways. And we'll take those on a case-by-case basis, including at the installation in a few weeks. That'll be a special case. But generally speaking, I am here. And I know this has been a bit of back and forth a bit, but so let's just clarify for the record that I think moving forward, the verger is here. The verger is here at this seat. Yes, that does necessitate some crossing, but that's okay because the verger is also then positioned to help manage the table with the crucifer as needed, and then they are also in the position to just get up and be at the altar with the presider when the time comes. So this is the verger's seat, and we'll just keep that consistent. Then this seat is the sort of fluctuating seat. Generally in a normal liturgy, this would be where the chalice one sits. So then we're just in a row, and the crucifer has a nice big seat to themselves in the back. You can stretch out. But if we have a guest preacher, or if we have a deacon, they will sit in this seat, and then the chalices and crucifer will sit in the back. Obviously, we have a lot of cases where chalice 2 at the 11 is sitting in the choir, and they come forward and do their own thing. Frankie. It's not a main, it's just to, when you're here? So let's think this through. When we are assigning chalices now, is it just 2 generic chalices? There's not a delineation. So are you all just sort of deciding in the moment who sits where?
In theory, the verger's supposed to say, you're going to follow Phil, you're going to follow me. And then in theory, the verger's supposed to say, you sit here and you sit back. We never did the 1 and 2.
Okay.
But it's the same thing. We had 2 chalice bearers. And before the verger was always over here, so it's a little clearer. We had a seat over here for the verger and the 2 chalices sat on the other side before we moved that back.
Okay. Yeah.
So this has been kind of it's been in flux because not everybody does it. That says you sit there, you sit down there, you stand up. You know what I mean?
Yep. So I think, especially because in a lot of cases, again, we're really talking about the 11 a.m. service right now. I don't know the percentage of times, but it seems like a high percentage where the other chalice bearer is coming from the choir. That seems to be a reality of just who we have signed up to do this. So, absolutely. I think it may be helpful for us moving forward to have a chalice 1 and chalice 2, just so that it's explicitly clear about who is seated where. And where you stand. I think that may be a helpful thing. You can let me know if not, but yeah. So that's the seating arrangement. Is there any question or something I've missed in terms of clarifying who sits where? Okay, great. And I have a little note there about when the bishop is present, but again, when the bishop is present, that may also indicate that other folks are present. So we will really have to take those on a case by case, and they are rare. Okay, Ed and then Bill.
Typically, when the bishop's here, there's a bishop.
Yes, chaplain? Yep,
That's not like you have that machine.
right. So again, and that's something we're going to have to figure out because Greg is going to be the bishop's chaplain when she's here for the installation. So it's going to be different, probably. So this may be subject to edit. What's that? Okay, Bill?
Yeah, doesn't the crucifer move around during the service so that at the beginning they're close to the cross, and then as we get to the communion, they move down to the other end?
I know, yeah, these seating things are here. I haven't really noticed that that's been a big jumble back there, but Ann? Hmm. Yep. Hmm? Yep. Right. Right. If it's less crowded back there, I think it just becomes naturally less of a big concern. If we reintroduce torches into the service, if we recruit some torches, we may have to revisit that. But I haven't sensed that it's been a big problem lately. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Bernie? Yep. Yep. And I'm thinking out loud here, Ed, but what we may end up doing is just that when the bishop is present, we may simply make it such that the verger is their chaplain, and then it takes care of itself. I think that may be a simple solution, but we can think through that. Yeah. Okay. We good on seating? Let's talk about the gospel book. Vergers, you have sort of adopted that role of carrying in the gospel book. I think some of you know, but just so we all know this, traditionally when there's a deacon serving in a congregation, they are the person who usually processes in with a gospel book. So in those couple instances when Elaine has been here to serve, I have asked her to do that piece. So just know that's it's great. I love that we still continue that even without a deacon, and I appreciate you all doing that. But if I ask a deacon to do it, please don't feel slighted. It's just sort of shifting back to the standard. What's that? Don't need to schedule a verger. Bernie? Potentially, yeah.
Let's worry about that when we have a meeting.
For now, it's rare. So we will, yeah. But your point is taken, Ed. But since we don't have a deacon, we'll get to that when the time comes. But for now, the verger does carry in the gospel book and processes it in and places it on this altar. I think you've all had a chance, you vergers have had a chance to experience this gospel book stand. It's a little snug, right? It does this, which is good in that it keeps it standing up nice and tall. There's no flopping, but when you are, for the gospel procession, when you come forward, not the most elegant moment. So I've said this to a couple of you one-to-one, but my recommendation is that you just sort of, as you come up for the gospel procession, that you just lightly place your fingertip on the base and lift it with your other hand, if that's possible for you. I know it's a little heavy, but hopefully that will be okay. And then, obviously, process out with it. Now, one change that I think I have made, but we haven't fully implemented with consistency, is that the gospel book does not need to be processed out at the end of the service. So when we come to the offertory and we're clearing the altar for communion and the Eucharistic prayer, we will take the gospel book and the stand off, move it to the back, and it doesn't need to come back out. It does not need to come back out.
And we, at the gospel procession, we put it back where it is now.
That's right, yeah, because, for the gospel procession, you're still bringing it back, you're still putting it back in its stand, because we are still in that moment, we are still in the liturgy of the word. So, that's when I'm, or whoever is going to preach the sermon. So it remains there for that. But we don't need it at the end of the procession. It does not need to come back out. Michaela, then Ann. Yes. Yeah, It's a very good question. So the question for those watching online is, if you're crucifer, we know that when the music starts, that's our cue to stand and for the crucifer to go get their cross. But the question is, do they just get it and start moving, or do they sort of stand and wait until the singing of the sequence hymn begins? I think that in this instance, I hope this doesn't confuse matters, I would go more with just once the music starts, just start the movement and let it be fluid. Don't stand and wait. I primarily say that because at the 9 a.m. service, the verse that the praise band sings is very short. So time is at a minimum, even when we're not doing a full procession. So I think unless we start to run into really weird, clunky stuff, let's keep it a rule of thumb that for the crucifer, you just, at the gospel procession, you just do a fluid movement. Yeah, so you just get up, you come out, do your pause, and then go down. Yep. Let's talk about that for a minute, because I think we're all doing slightly different things. This is a 9 a.m. question. At the 9 a.m. service, we're venturing to various stoppage points. And I think probably we're not venturing all the way out into the middle of the congregation because we're trying to keep timing a little tighter. But I've had some where the crucifer kind of comes here. I've had some where it's like here, and so I'm up here. So we've just had a little bit of variance there. I would say for the crucifer, I would just come basically just to the other side of the altar rail and do it here, because it gives enough space then for the verger and for myself to come down. Say that again. And I'm talking about the 9 a.m. service. Yep. Yeah, that's if it's the 9 a.m. service, you don't need to worry about the side stuff because we're not live streaming it. So you can just Just come right about here at center. That just gives enough space for the verger and myself here. If it's the 11 a.m. service, then what we're doing is working. There's no big change. Just come down, to about here, and then you do a bit off to the side so we have that camera view for the live stream. So no change there if you're the 11 a.m. crucifer. What's that? That would be helpful, yes, yeah. Let's do a visual. Let me have a crucifer. No, Michaela can hold that. Someone be verger. Yep. There you, maybe come forward a touch. There we go. So then here we are. This is what we've been doing. This is 11. This is at the 11, so we're fine. And then what do we do when, after I say the gospel of the Lord and etc., the movement is, I go this way, the verger go this way. Here's the thing, if you're the verger, as the cross is passing, please reverence the cross with me. That may be different. Please reverence the cross with me. What's that? Just bow your head. Just bow your head. Yep. Perfect. Thanks. And then this has been flowing just fine, that the crucifer goes back at the end of the gospel procession, verger replaces, I come, we reverence and go to our seats. That's been working just fine. Okay. At the offertory, so after the announcements, yes, please.
I have normally been clearing the gospel off back to my seat during the feast. That way to make space for the offertory basket.
Okay. When we're setting the table.
So will you do that then? Will you clear the gospel off there?
Which would you rather?
I would prefer to, I will clear it when I'm setting the table. Yeah, so it can just stay there. I will take care of it and probably hand it to the crucifer. What's that? The question was, when does the gospel book get taken off the altar? In that sort of in between offertory time, I will handle that. I will take it off. I will, when I come up here and start all my little busy work, one of the things that I will do is pick it up, and probably what I will do is set it here. Okay, so that whoever, the crucifer or whomever, can just grab it and take it. That's probably what I will do.
And you want it off there on the previous day?
Yeah. Anne? Yes, correct. The crucifer takes it and puts it away. Exactly. It is done its part at that point. Okay, this is a note, and I know some of you are ushers, so this is also a note that maybe we need to pass on to the ushers. After I do walk in love as Christ loves us, etc., that offertory sentence, then I come up here and I come round, and then we start setting the table. What I have found often is that the ushers are waiting for me to nod to them before they start coming forward. You don't need to do that. Let's figure out the best way to pass that on to make sure the ushers know. Once I have come up here, the ushers can just start coming forward. Yep, as soon as I get behind the table, come on up, come on down. Yes, and I think I'm gathering maybe that was a practice that had been instituted here. Sure, and that's fine. Everyone has their way, but I would prefer that you just come forward.
Because what happens is, Julie waits for them to come up and there's a dead silence. So they need to move right away. When he goes around, the crucifer needs to come out with the offertory plates and stand right there, and that should be their cue. Be out right away.
So yeah, again, ushers don't need to wait for a nod anymore. That's a change that we're making. Not. Are you asking about when they hand off the bread and the wine? Yeah. With the plates in their hands? It's not necessary to do a full bow, no. I mean, it's just hand off. You could do a bow after you've handed them off, but.
When should the ushers reference the table?
If they're reverencing the table, they can do it after they've handed off the items that they're handing off, with their hands free. Yeah. Yep. 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 I believe so. If we need to clarify some usher stuff, we can do that separately, because I think we don't have all the ushers present, so we can look at that. But really in this moment for altar servers, that's the crucifer is the one dealing with them. Yeah, Michaela.
That's how we train them to do it to the altar. So the ushers, so the crucifer comes to the front here. Takes the plates before the step.
Like here?
Well, up to the steps.
Oh, to the top of the step.
And then the ushers come up here and hand them the plates, and then in theory, they're supposed to turn it. Just to prevent them from going up the steps.
That's fine. Yeah. So when you are the crucifer and you're handed the plates by the ushers, you turn around, come up, stand here in front of me with them. I will bless them, and then I will take them from you. Nope, I keep them. They stay. I don't keep them. The church keeps them. Yeah, they stay on the altar. They stay on the altar. I think that is maybe a change from previous practice, but the plates stay on the altar for the whole prayer. Yep, they do.
I personally love that. I love that.
It's part of our offering.
That's my hard work all week.
That's exactly right. So again, my main note there is ushers don't need to wait for me to nod. They can just come forward. So if we can make sure that we're all on that page, that's great. The next thing, when we get to the preparation of the table, this is mainly crucifers and vergers. There's no huge change here from what you are already doing. The main thing is just a request, and maybe it's a quirk of mine. I would ask that you please don't place things directly on the altar during that time. Don't place things directly on the altar, Bernie. Y'all. Because priest is my order of ministry, but presider is the role I'm playing in this service. I am a priest. You are, I am a priest. You are a layperson. In this liturgy, you are a verger. I am a presider. It's the role I am playing in this service. Because there could be a service where the bishop is present, but they are the presider. They are a bishop, but they are presiding over the service. So it's like the role in the service. So here's, oh, words, language. No, it's fine. Why not? Let's have a discourse. This is a change that I made in the bulletins with Amy in the office. A lot of places use, like for presider, they would use the word celebrant. They would say the celebrant, and they're talking about the priest who's sort of leading the liturgy. That's not a word I like to use because I by myself, as the priest doing the thing up there, I am not the celebrant of the liturgy. We are the celebrants of the liturgy. We are all celebrating the Eucharist together. I am presiding. I am just doing my part, right? But we are the celebrants. Yeah. Yep. Steve, what? Okay, so yeah, back to my little note. When it comes to preparation of the table, if you're the verger or the crucifer, a request of mine is that please don't place things directly onto the altar during the preparation of the table. Hand them to me. And that is, there are a variety of instances and reasons why that's the case, but it keeps a consistency of movement and of setting, that if there's just one person. Now, if there were a deacon here, this would be them, not me. But for now, it's me who's setting the table. So if you have the cruet of water, you're the crucifer, please do not sneak up behind me and set it here. It's okay. I mean, again, if we forget, if it changed, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to freak out. But my request is that instead of setting things here, or if you were the verger over here, and for some reason you thought I needed the reserved sacrament, don't set it here on the altar unless I ask for it. Just leave it on the retable. And if you have the cruet of water or the other items, just wait until I turn to you and hand them to me. This becomes the sort of visual focal point of the moment as the table is being set, and we don't necessarily want it to look like we're all just sort of throwing our stuff down at the potluck. It's a bit more of a sort of focused action here. So just sort of hand things to me. That's the request. Frankie? I would prefer that. Yes. I would prefer that. I know sometimes it's a bit of a reach, depending on, again, the setup and the person. So, if you're afraid of dropping it, or it feels like you're gonna, it's okay if you have to if you have to set it there, but ideally, yes, hand it to me. Okay. Yes. Thank you. You read my mind. So may I have another volunteer? It could be anyone. Thanks, Greg.
So there's something else too. The water removed. This used to come up.
Oh, okay. So it's your call. It's fine. I'm fine. It's okay. So when we're handing off cruets, whether it's from out here or from here, yes, to Frankie's point, it's fine. Hand it to me with the handle forward so that I can receive it like that. And I will endeavor to do the same thing to you if I'm handing it back to you. So that's the ideal. Again, if it goes sideways, it's okay. But that's the hope. And this is not spiritual thing. This is a very practical thing of just making sure. And then this is in the notes. It would help if we, when we're handing things off to one another, whatever the case may be, if we use a bow of our heads, both to indicate the sort of reverential movement of the liturgy, but more importantly, to indicate that I have hold of the thing that you're handing to me. So Greg has these here, I take them, I bow my head to say, I've got them. He lets go, then I go. It's just a little trick to help us make sure that we've actually handed off the thing we're handing off.
I have a request. If you're giving him the water, come up here and give it to him. Don't set it down, give him the water. Wait for him to take it from you.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Instead of putting it over here, because
Yes. With the water in particular, because the water is something I'm using right then, it's better to hand it off. Now, you can take, you know how we have the spare paten and chalice that we use? Setting those back here on the reed table, that's fine. That's what you've been doing, and that's totally fine. I'm not using them in that moment, but the water, yeah, please try to hand it off to me in that moment, if you would. Yes, Anne. Please. Yes. Mm-hmm. So vergers make way for the crucifer to do their delivery. Absolutely, that's fair. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I will just, for those who can't hear, I take off the burse and the veil and the pall, and I, put the little stack of them on the corner of the table there, and the crucifer is the one who picks that up and puts it back on the credence table. Yeah. Yeah, random things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And over here, Peter.
Did you want to wait till the doxology before the verger stands behind the speaker or like?
I do, because, and I've noticed this in recent weeks, there are certain, and this is true at both, but definitely true at 11. There are offertory anthems that are longer. So the choir or the band is singing a longer anthem, and if I'm done here setting the table, you may have noticed there have been a couple weeks where I've come and I've sat down to just receive the offertory anthem towards the ending. So I wouldn't want the verger to just be kind of, hanging here by themselves while the offertory anthem is wrapping up. So I would say, no, you don't need to take your place behind the altar if you're the verger until we move forward for that doxology verse. Yep. No, so during the doxology, when I get up, when we all get up, when everyone stands and we move behind the altar, that's when the verger and I would take our positions. Mm-hmm. Yep. And that, I think there's a note there about that. So, and the plates remaining. Okay. Do you need a? Oh, there you go. Okay. So now we get to the Eucharistic prayer. This is another just a request that I'll put out to you all. If you are one of the people standing behind the altar with me, or with whoever the priest is that Sunday, or the bishop, or whoever it is. If you are one of these people, please pattern your movements according to what the presider is doing. So I say that because we all know in the Episcopal Church, we all have our own little flavor and our own piety of what we do. Some of us at the Sanctus or the Blessed, in Benedictus, blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Some people make the sign of the cross then, other people do not. I do not. And it's perfectly lovely and wonderful that people have their own piety in the way that they do that. But again, the idea for those of us who are right here is that there's a uniformity of movement so that it's not distracting. So please, whatever you tend to do anywhere else, if you happen to be standing up there behind the altar, please do what the presider does. Bow when they bow, cross when they cross, don't cross if they don't cross, so that we're all just moving as one unit during the Eucharistic prayer. The Lord's Prayer. I would, during the Lord's Prayer, if you have a particular, if you open your hands, if you close your hands, I'm a little less worried about that. I mean, if you generally are waving your hands, maybe don't do that. I would prefer to keep it as uniform as possible. So I would sort of ask during Lord's Prayer that you probably just kind of bow your head and keep your hands, kind of subtle for that, so that it's not that any of those gestures are bad, it's about us looking as one in that moment. So the verger is over here. I have noticed, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like the chalice, one of the chalices often comes over here. I'm not imagining that, right? Yeah. Yeah, so that it's balanced. So yes, unless there is a deacon present, then they are standing in that spot to my left. Ideally, yes, I would like 3 people there. It'll be chalice 1. If we have chalice 1 and 2, it'll be chalice 1. Chalice 2, like by default, if we have a choir chalice, they are probably chalice 2. But if we had 2 seated chalices, we don't need 2 chalices standing up at the altar. That's, again, it's not about someone's more important than another, it's about visual balance and uniformity. It's not that chalice 1 is the favorite chalice and they're the gold star chalice. It's just about creating balance. Yeah. Oops, sorry. Anne and Frankie both. Yes. If you're both coming from the choir, when it's time for you to come up, yeah, go to either side. They should come to this side. Yep. Anne? Oh, okay. All right. Good. Our choir chalices, you are coming up generally at the...
If there are 2 coming from the choir that come at the same time, you always come right after.
The fraction? At the fraction, right? Yep. Sure. Yeah, that's great. Okay. So again, we'll get to some of those bits in a second, but so now we're behind the altar, presider, verger, chalice, if appropriate, chalice 1. So there we are. We begin the service. And then this is for the crucifer, the Sanctus bells. This has been a little bit in flux, and we haven't quite landed in a fixed place. So this is what I'm asking. It's here. I would like you to ring the Sanctus bells at 3 times. I would like you to ring them during the Sanctus, the Holy, 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 right? The part that's usually sung, sometimes spoken. So ring, ring, ring. On Holy, Holy, Holy. I don't think that's a big change, but ring it there. Ring it again 3 times at the first elevation when I lift the bread, and then ring it again at the second elevation 3 times when I lift the cup. We are not going to have you ring it at the final doxology. That I've been thinking through that over the past few months. I had sort of thought about us doing that. It just doesn't work here, and that's fine. It's fine. There's no hard and fast rule, but this is where I like us to land. So ring the bells at those junctures. That's it.
Just the elevation on the mountain.
Yeah, everyone's a little different, but I generally hold it up while you do the 3 rings. Are we all clear? Are all our Sanctus bell ringers good on the ringing? Yeah. Okay. Yes. We have the gong, the Tibetan bowl. I would encourage you to strike it heartily. There was some, no offense, but there was some timid striking of the bell in Lent, and while it is a penitential season, we do need to hear it. So, oh no, we're not going to worry about making it sing. No, I love that. That's way cool, but no, we're not going to do that. Just one thwack. One time, let it reverberate. Let it reverberate. Yeah. Oh, I know. No, I totally get it. Just let it reverberate out. Let it reverberate out. It's okay if I start talking again and it's reverberating. It's okay. It's okay. Thank you for bringing up the Lenten bell. Okay. So this gets to the point of the chalice 2, or the chalice coming from the choir. Immediately after, or it's really during the fraction, or at that juncture where you already know to do it, come and stand over here, next to the verger, on this side of the altar. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Now, here is the part that I've been thinking through, Greg and I have talked through, Steve and I have talked through, and I own my own sort of like, what works best in our particular setup. This is in terms of the initial distribution of the bread and the cup to the people who are up at the altar. So, can I have a couple volunteers? I need a verger and 2 chalices and a crucifer. So who's who? Crucifer's here. Who's my verger? Ed is my verger, so Ed's here. Your chalice 2, your chalice 1. You're over here, Wendy. So, we've gotten to that point in the service where we have offered the invitation to communion. So, potentially we're doing, the gifts of God for the people of God, that piece. Then we set our stuff down. I take it back. I commune myself first. So I intinct, I do this. Then, not misspeaking. Then I offer the cup to the verger. This is, we're doing an 11 a.m. pattern right now, okay?
Cup first instead of bread?
Oh, sorry. See, I've already messed it up. Oh. Take 2. Take 2. The body of Christ, the bread of heaven. Okay? Body of Christ, the bread of heaven. So I've offered the bread to both. Then blood of Christ, the cup of salvation. The blood of Christ, the cup of salvation. You keep your chalice. Now you have your chalice to begin your piece. Then, you, at this point, take the second paten. Okay? I take the second cup, and we go this way. Now you have your cup, you have your paten, I grab my paten.
Does she have a rack?
She would, yes. Imagine the purificator. I have mine, now we move. Duh.
Are you going to, should I wait for you to decide which side you want to?
Yes, yes. Wait to see, because I try to alternate sides. People notice if I don't, so. And that's okay. I love to serve all of our amazing community, so that's great. So I will take a side, and you would follow me to whichever side I go, and then Verger and Chalice 2 would go to the other side. Then we begin the pattern. Okay? Yep, I move, this is all exactly the same way that we normally do it, okay? For 11. So now, let's rewind. Thank you. Now we'll rewind. Now let's do, just briefly, this is much simpler, but let's do a 9 a.m. service. So we don't have Chalice 2. We do have a Verger. We do have you all. So at 9 a.m., I receive body of Christ, blood of Christ, you keep it, blood of Christ, keep it, just one paten, I come round, body of Christ, the praise band, we do the funny little tight loop with the praise band, while the two chalices are serving the praise band from each side, okay? So this is a little bit of an awkward moment spatially, but I am basically just giving the bread to all of the praise band. So you're,
Chalice on this side waits till you're
you
done.
wait, until I've distributed, and then while you're doing the chalice, then I move here. Yes, Bill?
So, I just want to tell you this.
Please.
Last summer, we had a worship committee meeting before we got to the summer.
Okay,
We got to June.
okay,
And I knew, I was given the impression, when the praise band would be in charge of the 10 o'clock service.
Uh-huh.
They would be playing as opposed to Julie.
uh-huh,
And also, well, I knew Joanne's last Sunday, I knew your first Sunday, I knew all that.
mm-hmm,
So this summer, hopefully, we have done that. And what I've done, I've already scheduled now to the end of June. I made a decision that I would schedule 2 chalices
Yep.
every Sunday.
Yep.
No matter what.
yep,
So
that's right.
even if it's the praise band,
Yep.
you're gonna have two chalices.
Yes, absolutely, because I think, I don't know if this is a change or not, but we will do communion at the altar rail all summer long. Like, that, because it's a combined service, so there's, yeah, so no, you, absolutely, I agree with that decision. Yes, yeah. So that first pattern that we just did with the 2 chalices, that will be what we do in the summer, and then at 11, okay? Any questions about that? Did that make sense to you all? I mean, it's incumbent upon me, honestly, to remember that pattern and make it work, but as long as it made sense to you all. Question? Susie? And you're serving out of whatever. I have noticed crucifers doing that. Has that been an established role?
So we did establish that as a rule, they would hold the line.
To refill?
Bread and stuff, you go get it yourself. But they would hold the line because we run out of wine before. That's just what our old custom was.
Are crucifers clear on that? That that's a thing?
Yeah, here in the middle, Stan, right here in the middle.
And, go ahead.
Because you want to be able to begin at 12 ends if Ed's coming around.
Okay, all right. Anne has a comment. Please. Sure. When you say the communion plates, you mean the... Oh, no, I would not do that. No. I will clear... No, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah, it's a good clarification. So I would say the crucifer, it would be helpful for the crucifer to manage the wine. I think that is a helpful thing for the crucifer. Yep. I do think, and I've seen you do this, Anne, in particular, I do think it would be helpful for the crucifer to hold the extra consecrated wine and stand here just at the ready to help refill. Ideally, yes, or there's reserve. You should pour, the crucifer should pour it so that we're not. Yes. So the crucifer will stand here with the cruet of wine. If a chalice needs a refill, you will come up with your chalice and your purificator. The crucifer will pour the wine in your chalice to refill, and you will use your purificator to catch any drops. Then you'll go back to serving. Yeah? Okay. Oh. I don't know. How full are we talking? Like up to the lip? Oh, good heavens. It shouldn't be that high, ideally. No. You're just gonna have to take a few heavy sips yourself in that case, I guess.
You turn and praise the altar and take a turn.
Reverently, of course. Sister Kyle. To pick up the cruet of consecrated wine. Yes. The crucifer does not need to worry about pre-clearing the altar during communion service. I will do that at the end. Yes. Later, yes. Yeah.
I'm just going to make a comment when we had visiting.
No, of course not.
I've
person, you should talk to that visiting clergy and let him know what we do different than what you might expect, or especially we go inside out. He'll start over there. When we go inside, you gotta tell him how we do that.
Sure.
That's what the verger's role is to explain that stuff to the visiting clergy.
And
He'll talk to him, he'll tell him all this.
And it is also true, that things happen. And when there's a visiting priest, things happen. And the beauty of a community like St. Anne is we don't lose our heads. When things get a little sideways, we realize that we're doing our best, and none of this is about getting it perfect. Yes, grace is abundant, and that makes the service beautiful more than anything. But I do think, Bernie, yes, having the verger sort of step in as a shepherd for the visiting clergy is a fine and good role for the verger to take on to help kind of manage the trains. So that's perfectly fine. Okay, we know already after we finish serving communion here, usually I and one of the chalice bearers, if there's anyone out in the congregation, I go out with one chalice to serve that. Usually I think I end up doing it with the chalice that I'm working with, but there have been times where for some reason maybe they're still finishing up and I've grabbed the other chalice. So if you notice me saying like, let's go, just come with me, and that's what we're going to do. And then once everyone has been served, then the verger, of course, you're helping me return leftover hosts to the reserve containers and putting them back on the retable. So that is a moment where the verger and I are working together to put those things back in that, and that's a timing thing. If it's accessible, that's not really possible. We usually leave it on the retable, and that's okay. It's fine. It's again, it's a timing thing. Okay. Finally, the exit procession. So we have our lay Eucharistic visitor who has come up if they are serving, and so they are up there. We do that prayer with them if relevant. We do post-communion. We do the blessing, and then you will notice that at least my custom is right after the blessing, I kiss the altar, right? If you haven't noticed, I do. So I kiss the altar. That when I kiss the altar, that's sort of the cue for both the band or Julie to begin their music and for the altar party to start moving into its final formation. So kissing the altar should be the thing. It's like, okay, we're done. We're getting ready to make our exit. So that would be the cue for the crucifer to move and pick up the cross and go get in position. And it would be the cue for the verger and the chalices as needed to kind of get ready to move. So let's do one more volunteer group with a crucifer, with a verger, someone who hasn't done it yet, maybe Peter, and let's do a couple chalices as well. 2 chalices, whoever wants to do that. What's that? No, you'll stay there. Mm-hmm.
You guys will sit down. So we're over here.
Yep. So you're in your seats. We're doing the post-communion prayer and the blessing, right? So you're standing because we're doing the blessing. Yep, the prayer and the blessing. So, and remain with you always. Amen. I do the kiss the altar. The music begins. That is the cue, yep, for crucifer to come forward. While he is coming forward, so the choir is doing their thing, but so Tom is moving, I am coming round. And then you all are following me. So give us space to move, exactly. Yep. So you're facing there.
Where do you want the verger?
Back where you were. Okay. So we've reformed. So Greg, if you're chalice, yeah. There we go. So here we are. And again, as we did when we came in, wait till we're in a line and wait for me to initiate the reverence, the bow. Then we turn.
Wait, you turn around, Tom.
Hold 1 second.
Oh, do you bow to the cross?
Yeah, that's one of the changes we're about to make.
But you were
So I have the Eucharistic visitor on the outside. It's in the notes. They're on the outside. Yeah, basically next to Wendy. They would be next to Wendy.
Thank you.
Oh yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you, LEV. Appreciate it.
He's filling in.
Good job.
So we would need to make sure we have space. So yeah, yes. We turn. Now this is a change for Crucifer. Wait until we have turned to you so that we can then reverence the cross. Thank you. Then the Crucifer turns and leads out. Now, so that's perfect. And then you know what to do from there. Here's the key moment for us who are at the altar party in this moment. I would like us to split. Step to the side, just like 2 steps, like this. The reason, just sort of subtly to move to the side. The reason is it has been commented to me that the choir feels very strange and it looks weird for them to be bowing to us as they are coming out and leaving. So this way, just by creating a little space, it's clear they are reverencing the altar and not us. So we're just sort of hanging here.
Hey, is there a way the choir people could just turn and go and not reverence? Could turn and go and not reverence? You've already reverenced 4 times. In, out, communion, and then out again. You've reverenced 4 times.
Father, your choice.
I was just asking.
We're
Way
gonna
not to do that.
we're gonna let them reverence. We're gonna keep that, especially because for a whole host of reasons. We're just gonna keep that for now. I hear your point, Greg, but we're gonna keep it. The choir reverences. Once the last pair of the choir has reverenced and turned, then that's our cue for us to go out in the way that we came in. So we would go out, LEV. Yep.
First.
Then chalices.
Okay.
Your chalice. Yep. Then verger. Then priest. Tom is already out there. Yep. He's already gone before the choir. If there were a second crucifer, and this is rare, but we've done it at Easter and at Christmas, obviously the second crucifer would lead out this little group at the end. Yep.
And so with no choir, we just continue on go.
If this is a 9 a.m. service, obviously it's much simpler. The only difference is that for the crucifer to wait until we've turned around and reverenced the cross. That's going to be the same at 9 and 11. That's the change, the key change that we're making. Yeah. Trish.
Just a clarification, every time I've been the Lev, I've also been the verger. So I'm gonna keep doing what I've been doing, so in the normal spot that I was verger, I'm just carrying.
You're just carrying the box, yes. And I want to clarify for the LEVs, I know there's difference in opinion and practice about this. I've heard some of the LEVs say, I don't bow or I don't do this because I'm holding the communion box. Have you heard that comment made? And maybe some priests have instructed along those lines, and that's fine. That's their prerogative. But I would prefer that the LEV does bow just does make the reverence to the cross and the altar with us. And again, it's about uniformity of movement. That's more important to me than the sort of technicality of you holding the sacrament. Okay? We've reached the end of the notes, and we're at 11:30, so I don't want to keep us much longer, but are there any other questions? Sister Kyle, then Bill.
I have two. One has to do with,
Yes.
are we moving liturgy the last? Well, you know, some for a while, we were waiting, and we were told, no, we're going to get out.
Yes.
The idea is to keep the service moving. We don't need to watch somebody walk up.
So for those who are online or listening to the recording, the question is, should a lector, the question for those listening online is, should a lector move at the tail end of the psalm at the 11 to be in place to start the reading? And the answer is yes, that is a good practice. That is a good practice. I would add to that, while we're on that subject, I would encourage vergers to consider moving to the ambo at the tail end of the Nicene Creed to begin the prayers of the people for the very same reason.
Then this is just a commissioner question. Is it correct, because I've been doing it and I feel like when we process out, and the deacon gives the blessing to you. The last verse, I feel like
Yes.
on the end. Is there anything that's particular to this? You're there, you speak words, and but I mean, that's just a really sweet thing.
It's, yeah, that's very much a,
And it's not
I think you need to yell at about face.
no. We probably won't do that. Yeah. Sister Kyle, yeah, I'm happy to talk to the back of your head. That's fine. But if you want to model that, and if others want to, that's great. I think it's. Yeah. It's a funny one because generally people aren't visually following the procession out. So yeah, they're reading the hymn or the slides. Yeah, the hymn book. Bill.
Just so I know, it just makes me feel more secure, because to me, one of the things we want to avoid up here is any confusion about what's going on. It makes us a little more like we know what we're doing. So, just as a comment to the burgers, let the chalices know who they're going with.
And if they don't tell you, go ask.
If
Hey, am I following you or am I following?
a rule of thumb, Bill, is that if you are the sole choir chalice, you are going with the verger. Because you will come and stand here with them and you will be with them. So if you're coming from the choir, you'll be with them. If we have double chalice one, I really do think we might try this out, Steve, the chalice one, chalice two.
Yeah.
And in that instance, chalice 2 is going to be the one that goes with the verger.
What I'll do is have Amy, if you're named by Amy with two chalices, the first name is chalice 1 and the second name is chalice 2.
Like lectors? Sure. Yep.
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 And then 2 is always with the word.
Who's with the verger? Mm-hmm. Yep. Other questions or comments?
Bill has one more.
Okay.
The other thing is, if the reader is not present, then I'll promise you,
Sure.
it's the verger's responsibility to get up and go do it.
Or find somebody, or
Figure it out beforehand, yeah.
right, if it's beforehand, the way our customary, then the verger then would go read and go issue.
If a lector is a no-show, the verger steps in. Either,
The verger's supposed to sit there and figure out who's not here. If they're not, the readers make sure they're here.
okay.
Part of the verger role.
Okay.
Sure, but then we have to do that anyway. But if you're up there waiting for the second reader or the first reader, the verger needs to be Johnny on the spot and
Get there.
unless, to Ed's point, before the service, like one time we come up to me and said, hey, so-and-so's not here, I think it's January. And you said, you said something like, you were waiting, somebody was here.
Yep. So the takeaway is it's up to the verger. If no one is walking up to do a reading, the verger is the default.
Yeah. And the lectors are in the lecters are in the book. You should know.
Very proactive. Yep.
Okay, anything else?
Yep. Sure. It happens. Yep. It can be. Okay.
Okay.
I don't want to keep us much longer.
Yeah, I want
so
to.
yes.
For last, we would say to you,
Yep.
Bill, so-and-so needs to be.
And that's very helpful.
That's the easiest way to make it happen.
Right. Like there are also, obviously there are one or two people where I just know, but yes, there may be people I don't know. So it is very helpful if the ushers tell me. Yes. Yep. Exactly. Yep. And that's really helpful for the ushers to tell me what's needed. Yes.
Okay, I want to thank Father Phil for his time this morning.
Well, thank you.
He did a great, I'll thank them too. And thank you guys for coming. I mean, this is an experienced crew here, but it's amazing that we had great questions and some really good thoughts. So we'll probably do this again maybe in a year or so just to keep everybody fresh, but it'll be online. You have your sheets. I'll get sheets to everybody who couldn't come, and I thank you guys so much for participating. Have a great rest of Saturday.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Thanks if you watched online. Thank you for that too.